This is Daniel Dydzak. I'm reporting live on day 12 of the Bundy Trial from the federal court in downtown Las Vegas. It's a windy day. It's a windy proceeding full of excitement and also full of drama. A jury of 12 jurors and 4 alternates is before a federal judge by the name of Gloria Navarro, who appears to be giving all concerned a relatively fair proceeding. This case is a very polarizing case. There's a gentleman by the name of Cliven Bundy. He has sons also with him in this case as criminal defendants, a Ryan Bundy and Amon Bundy. There's also a Ryan Payne, a friend of theirs, who's also under indictment. But let me tell you briefly what this case is about. The federal government is claiming that the Bundys and this gentleman, friend of theirs, Mr. Payne, basically conspired to commit an offense against the government to impede and injure federal officers, to threaten federal law enforcement officers, and improperly they carried a firearm and did other things like that to impede the due administration of justice. On April 12, 2014, the federal government claims in its indictment of these individuals that there was a massive armed assault against federal law enforcement officers in an area called Bunkerville, Nevada. And the federal government claims that federal agents, law enforcement agents, were threatened and intimidated because they wanted to remove 400 or so head of cattle that were allegedly on federal public land. Now, Mr. Bundy and his family, Cliven Bundy, come from a family that have been in the state of Nevada before there was even one person living in the city of Las Vegas. And what's amazing about this case is they're a longtime family, goes back to the great-great-grandfather apparently, farming this land. Now, the government contends that for over 20 years, the patriarch of the family, who's approximately 70 years old, Cliven Bundy, trespassed on public land and did not obtain legally required permits or paid legally required fees for this land. Then they allege that in 1998, Mr. Bundy received a federal court order to remove the so-called trespass cattle. Then in 2013, there were two federal orders to remove the cattle, and Mr. Bundy refused, according to the indictment. So the government started a removal operation on April 5th through the Department of Interior and other agencies. The Bundys are alleged to have gathered a group of supporters and people, gunmen, to travel to Nevada to stop the abuse. Mr. Bundy's position and his son's positions was, you can't take my cattle. This is my property. This is a violation of state rights. You don't have any legal authority or right to take my cattle and interfere with my livelihood, in effect. So apparently the Bundys enlisted hundreds of people to back them up. So this is like a John Wayne Western unfolding before our very eyes in the city of Las Vegas. When the federal officers showed up to take the cattle, they were apparently outnumbered by 4 to 1, and they were forced to give back the cattle. Now, the Bundys are ranch. The government is taking a position that they don't have any right to do grazing on public land. Now, the Bundys are saying, no, no, no. We believe we have grazing rights. We believe we have water rights. We believe that some of these rights apparently were deeded by the state of Nevada many years ago. So here you have a big difference in the version of events. You have the Bundys on the one hand saying they have a right to stay on this land and have all this cattle grazed. Then you have the federal government stepping in through its agents and officers saying that this is federal public land owned by the U.S. and managed by the U.S. Department of Interior and the Bureau of Land Management and the National Park Service. And the government has taken a position in its indictment that since 1848, they've owned this land. They call it the Bunkerville allotment. And they're saying, hey, the Bundys trespassed, but it's not such a simple case. They're saying that they don't recognize these 4 federal court orders, that they weren't given due process, that they have grazing rights, that they have water rights, and that they haven't done any trespassing. So there's a big divergence of opinion. And I guess that's what the jury is going to have to decide. It's a lengthy trial. We're already at day 12. This morning, the judge was ruling on a lot of evidentiary objections to various exhibits. But what was most dramatic about the case today was that they played a recording that they took of this Ryan Bundy, one of the sons of the patriarch of the family, Cliven Bundy. They had this long, lengthy recording where he's talking to a law enforcement agent. So what you have is an epic David versus Goliath legal drama unfolding in the city of Las Vegas today. And the judge, again, seems to be, like a lot of federal judges, a little bit pro-prosecution, but she's letting the defense get in a lot of things. She's letting them get in the fact, for example, that this recording, Bundy's son, was not, that he didn't know about it, which is a big deal. But let me tell you some of the things that Ryan Bundy said in this recording. Federal agent, and the witness on the stand this morning was a Howard Shalankis. He's a special agent for the Department of Interior and the BLM, and also an investigator. So he was instructed with other federal agents to go on the Bundy area property and take the cattle, what they call an impound operation. So he was on the stand at length this morning. He's still on the stand. I think the judge is about to take a lunch break. But he was also interacting with another agent, a Mike Johnson, that he testified. And this Mike Johnson actually recorded a conversation with the Mr. Bundy's son, Ryan Bundy. And let me tell you the incredible quotations that came out of this recording. This is fascinating stuff. And there's a lot of news media at this event. There's a Reuters reporter. They're all taking notes. This is a worldwide event in terms of coverage. There's a lot of media in the courtroom. It's a very packed courtroom. Ryan Bundy said, among various things, the agent told Ryan Bundy that them not cooperating with the removal of the cattle was not an option. And Ryan Bundy responded a number of times. He told the agents, quote, not to show. And again, the agent said that was not an option. Then he asked Ryan Bundy, do you recognize the federal court orders? And this is what he said, which is what is so riveting about this case. He said, the federal court has no jurisdiction, that he was speaking for the Bundy family and he did not recognize the orders. And he said that his state sovereignty rights were being disrespected. He said they did not get a fair process from the federal court system and that the matter really properly belonged in state court. So here you have members of the family that are asserting state Nevada rights. He said, quote, you don't have authority. And this is a pivotal quotation. He said, quote, we will do whatever it takes. And this is what the federal government is hinging their prosecution on, that they view this and other actions as a threat. He said, we are going to defend our property. He asserted, Ryan Bundy, you are taking our property. You are stealing, essentially, our property rights, water improvement rights. He said it was a state issue, a state sovereignty issue. And the agent responded, we are coming. And Ryan said, no, you will not take any cow belonging to us. So this is the kind of dramatic testimony that came on from the recording. Again, Ryan said, you have no right to infringe on our rights. Then, a very interesting thing he said, the only person who can enforce the law in this county is the sheriff, the county sheriff. And then he said, the government has no power other than the power that the people gives or it. And then he said, quote, we have the authority to protect our homeland. Another quotation, you are trying to harm us, you are stealing from us. We will defend ourselves. And the agent said, we wish no harm to the Bundy family. And he said, that's basically baloney. And the agent said, we are going to seize the cows. So this is the kind of drama that is unfolding in this amazing case. The agent's assessment was that Mr. Bundy and his family were not going to cooperate. Again, Ryan Bundy asserted that he believed that the county sheriff should be the only one involved. And he said, this is how things work. The government basically works for the people. The power of the government comes from the people. And he said, we don't relinquish our authority. He said, you are damaging our lives, our memory. So this is a pivotal battle over water rights, over a lot of cattle. Now, objectively, I think the problem that the Bundys have is they have to explain, but of course they may have a very logical explanation, how come Mr. Bundy and his family haven't paid grazing rights royalties or got permits for all these years. But I guess they believe in good faith, their state of mind is that it's a state sovereign issue and they're doing nothing wrong. And it doesn't sound like when these orders were issued against them, they got much due process from the federal court system in Nevada. Now again, they haven't put on a lot of their defense, so this is a long trial, so they're going to have a chance to give their version of events and defend it. Now this recording of Mr. Bundy, of Ryan Bundy, was 46 minutes, but interestingly enough, a lot of the key parts of the recording are missing. And again, the other thing that's really amazing about it is that Mr. Ryan Bundy was never told he was being recorded. Now, I don't know if that's illegal in the state of Nevada, permission from a federal judge to record them, but I think the viewers out there should try to research it. And frankly, it just came up. And I don't even think the judge knows the answer to it, because she said on the record, well, it's not really before the court, and more or less looked at the attorneys and said, maybe you should research it and do a motion. So again, what we have is that we're at day 12 of this very amazing case, which is getting worldwide media attention. You've got a federal judge by the name of Gloria Nevada. You've got Cliven Bundy, who's got a very charismatic attorney by the name of Brett Whipple that made a few scoring points. Ryan Bundy is, interestingly enough, representing himself. You got the brother, Amon Bundy, and you got Ryan Page, the friend from Oregon that came down to lend moral support, apparently. So this is a very interesting, unfolding legal drama. And William, I think that it's a great thing that you're covering this story, because I think the people have to know about an important case like this. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this legal drama turns out. So I'm going to turn it back to you in the studio in Santa Maria, California.